Hi, my name is Norhadi. I am a millennial male of upper middle class background, born and raised in Singapore. Ethnically, I am Malay of Javanese heritage, and I inherit partial Chinese descent from my father. It feels like I live two lives here on this earth, one back home and one here in the Netherlands. The similarities between both places is that they both consist of diverse multi ethnic communities. My societal position as a minority, however, remains unchanged in both my place of birth and my relatively new place of residence. Never before in my life have I experienced the privilege of belonging to a majority ethnic group. Beating stereotypes and other forms of prejudice have almost become second nature to me. Sometimes, I feel like one of my main purposes in life is to break away from the common associations related to my ethnic background. There are various stereotypes associated to the typical Malay male in Singapore, a country whose majority is of Chinese descent. He is commonly perceived to come from the lower end of the socio-economic scale, lacking high educational qualifications and has a rather simplistic outlook in life. He is commonly seen to be content in thinking for only today with little aspirations for the future. This perception has given rise to the stereotype of the lazy or stupid Malay, which can be rather inescapable, especially in school and work environments. In terms of his beliefs, he is expected to be an actively practicing Muslim, as Islam and Malay culture are heavily intertwined. He typically rides a motorcycle, plays football, and must know how to play a guitar. Not having ticked a majority of the boxes for being a typical Malay Singaporean male, I am always perceived differently from both my members of the community as well as Singaporeans of other ethnicities. I often question myself about my own Malayness and what it means to belong to this culture, and how can I still maintain pride in my racial identity and not have to associate myself with the negative stereotypical perceptions that plague my community. Being born into a family of higher economic status, being agnostic in my religious views, pursuing a university education, and having a preference for other hobbies and interests in general, all of these have been occasionally been attributed to my partial Chinese ancestry. I feel that it is unfair in judgment because in retrospect, it had very little correlation to the development of the very person that I have become. Additionally, I felt that it discredited the fact that minorities do come from diverse social backgrounds and can live their lives without being tied down strictly to one's own cultural standards. Coming to the Netherlands, that specific categorization of being a Singaporean Malay was greatly reduced to being simply labeled as an Asian. While I think that is a fair label, especially coming from a Western centric point of view, I feel that being labeled as such ignorantly strips away the great diversity of cultures, languages, and genetic differences that this distant, exotic, faraway continent offers. Soon, I found myself relating more with the common struggles that Asian individuals face while living in a Western society. That being said, I feel that the prejudice that I face as a minority here takes a different direction. While racism took the form of having my cultural identity questioned back home, over here, it has been greatly reduced to focus primarily on my physical appearance. I had been taunted with the occasional ni hao and konnichiwa by strangers while walking down the street, despite both Chinese and Japanese not being my mother tongue. I would receive a casual comment by a hairdresser telling me what a breeze it felt to cut my overly straight and soft Asian hair, as well as compliments from white friends over how they would get jealous over my tan complexion and how they wish they wouldn't get sunburned so easily in the summer. Of course, I was not spared from hearing common misconceptions that people have of Asians. I often get questions about my arithmetic abilities, my unusual culinary preferences, and not forgetting having to answer people's obsessive curiosity over a male's lack in the size department below the belt. What was once a quest to find out what it meant to be a Malay person living in Singapore, now it has been steered more to what it means to be a person of Asian descent in a Western society. Wherever I am in this world, it seems that this existential longing to position myself within society remains a continual process.